Hello and welcome to another AIC video. So I posted that video about the 5 systems that I gotten, and I posted a poll requesting people tell me what they wanted to see. Unfortunately, my daughter saw that video, heard me say that this computer was for her. She knew exactly who I was talking about because I have more than one kid, but she's the one that has the oldest computer. So she knew it was for her, and she has requested that I do this one first, so that way she can have her computer sooner rather than later. She doesn't want to wait a month or two for it. So anyways, we are going to take care of the T470S. Now, in previous videos on my T440p and on my T480 video, I told people to quit buying them because they're too expensive. It's not that I think that they're bad laptops. It's simply the cost. This laptop is far from perfect. It's older. It's not natively Windows compatible. But I was happy to buy it because it cost me less than 50 bucks. And I think for less than $50, I'm getting a ton of value in this system. And I think that's really, for me, the biggest point is for 50 bucks or less than 50, it's like $20 for the laptop plus like $21 in shipping. So it was like $42, I think, total with taxes and stuff, like, or $44, something like that. I don't remember the exact amount because it's been a minute, but it was not a lot of money. It was less than $50. And we're going to run through a couple of things on here so you can see kind of what you get for this system for the money. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and repaste the thermal paste, just because I'm sure it hasn't been done. These screws feel like they've never been off this machine, or if they have, it's been a long time. I believe this has been upgraded to 24 gigs of RAM or 20 gigs of RAM, something like that. So let's take a look. Okay, so we have a 256 gig SSD, and we have 8 gigs of RAM, so it might just have 12 gigs, because I believe the soldered RAM on this is 4 gigs of RAM, and we actually don't see it here. I'm not quite sure where that RAM is located, but because I know there's some soldered RAM on here, then you have the available upgrade RAM slot. We have our Wi-Fi here. We have our video cable on here. And this does have the 2 batteries. Now, these batteries are pretty tired. That one's a little poofy, actually, so it looks like I might need to replace the batteries here. But what we're going to focus on right now is just the thermal paste of the system. Is that the battery cable and this the video cable? Might be this video cable here. It's hard to see. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and replace the thermal paste here. Let's unplug that fan. So anyways, yeah, I complain about the other systems because people just spend too much money on them. For 50 bucks or less than 50 bucks, you can get a pretty well, I shouldn't say well performing, because this definitely is showing its age. Like, just browsing, it can't be updated to the latest version of Windows 11, though it is running Windows 11. Oh yeah, that thermal paste is pretty toast. All right. So I've seen people ask on here, or on forum, I should say on here, on forums and stuff. There's 2 chips here. This is the actual CPU, the dual core, Core i5 in this case. And then you see this other little chiplet next to it. If you look on here, there's actually a cutout for that. I don't know if it's the memory controller or a different controller on the CPU, but it runs at a much cooler temp than the CPU. And so if you actually put thermal paste on there, you'll actually cause it to be insulated or to have a heat transfer from the CPU onto it. So you don't actually want to get thermal paste on there, or try to fill that gap, I guess. It is not meant to have thermal paste. All right. Now with these, one thing that I recommend doing is the mounting pressure of these does matter a little bit. And so I just take and just bend them up ever so slightly just to make sure, because this one isn't too bad. You can see that these still have some springiness to them. But some of these systems I've looked at, these have lost like most of their springiness. And don't, I just touched that, don't want finger grease on there. Don't seem to have the same mounting pressure, and as such, don't keep the CPU as cool. So we just put a little blob on there. It'll spread out nicely, probably more than we need to, but it's also not too excessive. Screwdriver, just push down there in the center. Get this lined up. Give that a turn. I think I did that backwards because that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, but close enough. I was going to do this around the camera. It's hard to do just a second. I already got that plugged in where I could actually use both hands to do that. And let's go ahead and get the back cover back on. This is definitely one of the easier covers to get off, I think. It's a nice metal cover, captive screws. To remove the keyboard, there's a screw here. You do not need to remove that to take off the back cover or loosen that, because you don't actually unscrew that. It just twists partially to remove the keyboard, which we don't need to do because it works fine. Whenever you do these, you always want to grab that front edge first, because it's got hooks on the front edge, and then the rest kind of sits back and clips into place. All right, go ahead and flip her back over and plug her in. So let's go through a couple things here real quick. Let's go over the specs of the system. All right, yeah, so has 12 gigs of RAM, which normally I'd say isn't enough. You should throw a 16 gig DIMM in here, but this is not going to be used on the internet. And so I don't worry too much about the RAM. It's plenty for what the person who's going to be using it for. We do have a Core i5 6300U. Now this had a range of CPUs available from I want to say it was the i5 6200 to an i7 7th series. From my research online, the performance difference between them is pretty minimal. We're talking like 10 to 15% difference between the lowest i6 gen i5 and the 7th gen i7. I think there might be a little bit of difference in GPU performance, but let's go ahead and run a benchmark. Let's go ahead and bring this up here. All right, so what do we get for our about 50 bucks? Plus, I did have to buy the charger for like 10 bucks. So let's call it 60 bucks. Well, first of all, we do get a nice backlit keyboard, which is really nice. We get a battery that's pretty toast, but still gives us about 2 hours of battery life. We will get a lovely ThinkPad keyboard for typing on. We also can play 4K video without too much issue. Open this VLC player. So just for copyright reasons, I didn't want to grab somebody else's video, so I'll do my own. But that opened right up. Looks glorious on this screen. And we also can play probably the most important thing for my kids, Stardew Valley. My daughters spend way too much time on this game. I do have it on mute, but the other thing that this gives us is pretty decent, I won't say good, but decent speakers compared to other ThinkPads. Now this one does have this little spot here in the screen, but it's only noticeable with white backgrounds. And as you can see, this plays perfectly fine on this computer. Go ahead and exit out. The other thing I did is I went ahead and threw on another game that my kids love, which is a Lego Harry Potter. Let's go ahead and load that up. And again, these aren't really high-end games, right? These aren't AAA titles, but they're casual games that I can let my kids play and enjoy. This one's kind of nice because I think it allows up to 2 of them play at once on the same system. And so it's fun to see them sitting around and playing with each other when they have some free time. But as you can see, it runs just fine on here. We have I don't know what the frame rate is exactly, but it's definitely playable. And it's a fun game that is enjoyed by all. All right, so it took a minute to actually get to somewhere where it was actually playable, but we're running at 1920 by 1080. And the frame rate is perfectly acceptable. Again, these aren't AAA titles, but you know, definitely more casual games that you know, my kids enjoy and you know, want to be able to you know, play on their own, and let them play with each other as well a little bit. So, anyways. Yeah, it's a good laptop. That's the thing, is like a lot of people just spend too much money, and it's okay to buy an older ThinkPad. There's nothing wrong with a T440p. There's nothing wrong with a T480. The problem is how much you spend on it. And this, for 50 bucks plus a charger, is an amazing laptop. I didn't have to do anything to it. I probably will replace the batteries just because the one's a little bit on the poofy side. I may just remove it entirely, honestly, and just have it be something that's plugged in, because her current laptop doesn't have a battery, so she's used to not having a battery in her system. So anyways, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, leave that down below. I know this is kind of a haphazard video to get this out here. I didn't know how much interest there would be in this laptop specifically. Like I said, I didn't even really buy it for a video. I bought it so that I could upgrade one of my kids to a newer system. So again, I'll do my best to answer any questions you have about it. This will be in my collection for quite a while, probably. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.